Hello, and welcome back to the Solitaire the Gathering podcast. And for our second Not So Solitaire episode, I am Riker, also known as Dredge the Bed on the internet, and I am joined by our wonderful co-host, Sharif, also known as Micrograms. Go ahead and say hi, Sharif.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. Grab a snack, grab some water, enjoy the episode.
And for our feature guest today, we have the wonderful Enduring Idealist, one of the most known Enchantress players around the internet, and a known Legacy player as well. Go ahead and say hi.
What's up, everybody? I'm Alex, otherwise known as The Enduring Idealist, everywhere on the internet and Twitch and Instagram and all the special places that you can find me.
We're excited to bring the Idealist on for this episode. He's been fairly active in the Belcher and Oops Discord. We've seen him around there before. He also has a taste for the degenerate style of decks. But to those of you who do not know, the Enduring Idealist is a Twitch streamer and is streaming more often now. And we're glad to welcome him back to the Twitch community and here to give him some more airtime so that you can get to know him as a player versus just as a streamer. I wanted to start out with, why Enchantress? What brought you to Enchantress in all formats?
Oh man, what a question. So I have a silly answer for this to start out with, and that is, as a small bit of a backstory, or not backstory, but background for that is I love prison strategies. I adore prison strategies of all types. And Enchantress rang true to me many, many years ago. But these prison strategies came out because I like to say, I am not good at Magic. So how can I win at Magic if my opponent is also playing Magic? So prisoning opponents out of the game via Chalice of the Void or Trinisphere or whatever prison strategy I'm playing with Enchantress, it's like Solitary Confinement, or if it's in Legacy, Elephant Grass, things like that. How do I win if my opponent is allowed to touch my life total? Because I'm not good at the game, so I need to make sure that they can't do anything to me. The proper answer to that is that I am a combo control player at heart. I really do like placing a whole bunch of different things on the battlefield to make sure that my opponent has a quote unquote puzzle to answer, right? If I'm trying to assemble all of these different pieces and lock strategies to try to lock my opponent out of the game, it's really fun for me to watch them try to navigate through the maze. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for 20-something years, so as a dungeon master and those types of things who cultivates those mazes and puzzles and things like that, I like to watch my opponent in Magic try to figure out how to get through them.
All right, I'll fill it in with some more questions for you. Now, a weird thought as I was thinking about it, did you ever play Modern Ad Nauseam when it was big?
I did. I did for some time. I wasn't super versed in the deck. I still think that it is a viable strategy now, although my former teammates and friends don't believe so. I still think it's a viable strategy, but I'm moderately familiar with the Ad Naus archetype.
In all formats that you play, which one do you think Enchantress is the most viable to play, and in which format do you think Enchantress is the most fun to play?
Honestly, Modern for both. Modern Horizons 2 did an insane amount for the Enchantress archetype in Modern. Sithis is an absolutely insane card. I mean, we got Enchantress's Presence, Sterling Grove, Solitary Confinement. MH2 made the archetype viable. Now, that didn't stop me for many, many years trying to play the archetype without MH2, right? Sigil of the Empty Throne existed. Eidolon of Blossoms existed, and I tried for many, many years to try to make the archetype a viable strategy in Modern, but it was horrifically lackluster because it was missing a lot of pieces, right? Ghostly Prison's in the format, but that's not super great, at least not right now. But Solitary Confinement and Enchantress's Presence and Sterling Grove did. There are no real words as to how viable the strategy became in Modern because of it. Legacy is phenomenal and great, but in a format full of free counter spells and easily, removed, or spells that easily remove permanents, the deck is a little bit less viable or less good, in my opinion, in the legacy format, because there are just so many more options that deal with our things than there are in modern.
I just want to touch on something. I thought it was really interesting that you, when you described why you liked playing like prison strategies, how it's like, I don't want to play the game that you're playing. I'm going to change the rules of the game, or I'm going to do something a lot more explosive than what like my opponents are doing. Like, that's because I'm like most appealed to like combo strategies and things like that, because it's either I don't want to kill with creatures, I don't want to kill you with lightning bolts, I don't want to counter your spells. That's boring. I want something more exciting. I want to do things that are explosive and different and use funky cards. And prison strategies are interesting because it's sort of like, yeah, if you're not good at Magic, as you say, even though you're playing Magic, I'm sure you're doing fine. But you're basically changing the rules of the game, sort of to make it a bit of a mini game and a different approach to how you're going to win.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly correct. I don't particularly like turning creatures sideways to win the game, and if I am going to do so, I want to do it in one final swoop, which is why Enchantress. I play Enchantress a little bit differently than a lot of other people that I've seen play it. A lot of people they'll cast an early Destiny Spinner and they'll start chipping away at somebody's life total with their lands, right? By activating Destiny Spinner and making their lands into creatures, start chipping away at the life total. And I'm looking at that going, that's kind of like an aggro tempo strategy. And I think that's kind of strange because first and foremost, in my opinion, Enchantress is a prison deck. It is a control deck, not in control in the fact that I don't want you to have your cards. You can have every card that you play. I'll let them all resolve. As long as they don't touch me, that's fine. So it's a board control deck or a control strategy in which I am not allowing you to do things to me once your cards have resolved. So at the first and forefront of the archetype, it's a prison strategy, right? So I need to make sure that I have locked up the board in its entirety before I even start to try to win the game. That's the way that I play it. I'll play a Sithis and I'll start establishing my board state before I even think about playing a win condition.
I did want to add, Enchantress also has this drug built into it where once you've locked down the board, you just get to draw 20 plus cards in a turn, which is something that a lot of decks don't do. And I love doing that with Enchantress. It's so fun to just pick up half your deck and just keep flipping through your cards.
Yeah, that's very true as well. I mean, card advantage, right? Card drawing is probably one of the strongest mechanics in the entire game of Magic that's ever been printed, and Enchantress does that better than almost any deck. So why not do the most powerful thing you can in Magic in the best capacity that you can?
As we start to shift a little bit away from Enchantress as a whole, we do want to pick up on a few more questions about the deck, and that would be, would you recommend Enchantress to a new player, and what do you think Enchantress' weaknesses are?
So Enchantress's weaknesses are, anything that can deal with permanence, right? Tron is Enchantress's worst matchup in Modern. Tron is just too many consistent spells that are early that deal with any permanent or wipe a board, right? A turn 4 Ugin is basically a concession from the Enchantress player. They play All Is Dust, which, sure, I can protect all of my enchantments from single target things with Sterling Grove, but you wipe my board, my game is over. So Tron is the worst matchup for Enchantress. Anything that can deal with multiple permanents at a single time is probably Enchantress's worst matchup, right? Anything that brings in Fracturing Gust out of the sideboard is a huge threat, and Fracturing Gust is one of the most disgusting cards ever printed, in my opinion. Thanks, Watsy.
A little bit of bias with that card, I can see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've played artifact based strategies as well, and Fracturing Gust just poops on all that as well. So Fracturing Gust hurts me at at an atomic level. To answer your other question, in terms of if new players should get into it, I think Enchantress is, to play it correctly, is actually pretty difficult. But if a new player that I talked to ever wanted to be like, I really want to learn the intricacies of the game of Magic and figure out the stack and how this works, and I want to be able to do a bunch of different things at a time and think 3 turns ahead, Enchantress is right up that player's alley, right? If that person is incredibly thought oriented or wants to, like I said, think multiple turns ahead, then Enchantress is a phenomenal strategy for that player. But if a new player comes in and goes, I have no idea what to do about Magic, I just want to learn the basics of the game, I would say stay as far away as you can from Enchantress.
I just had one question before if we're wrapping up the Enchantress talk. Your ID is named after a card that doesn't really see much play anymore, with an interesting mechanic, Epic, right? So what was your experience playing with that card?
Yes. So this actually does have a backstory. So I am the Enduring Idealist, otherwise known as Idealist for people who want to call me by title. That's what I'm known as on the internet. People just shorten it to Idealist. So in 2019, GPLA, I go X-1 on day 1 with Enduring Ideal. For those of you who do not know what Enduring Ideal is, it is a 7-mana sorcery that says search a library for an enchantment and put it into play. And then it has the Epic Clause. The Epic Clause states you can no longer cast spells for the rest of the game, but at the beginning of your upkeep, you place a copy of whatever epic spell that you have cast on the stack. So the strategy wins in a prison style. It is a prison style deck, in which case you are winning by locking out the game by playing cards like 9 Lives, Solemnity, which 9 Lives and Solemnity is a soft lock. Solemnity with
Phyrexian Unlife, right?
Yeah, Phyrexian Unlife, thank you. Phyrexian Unlife is another soft lock. And then the win condition of the deck is Form of the Dragon, which is another 7-drop spell. Red enchantment with a massive line of text that basically makes you as the player a Shivan Dragon. Creatures without flying cannot attack, and in the modern meta, there are hardly any creatures with flying that matter.
Not anymore, now that we have Ledger Shredder, Murktide. But,
well, yeah, sure. But like if you already have the soft lock with...
Oh, yeah, soft lock is good.
You know, so once again, with prison strategies, you try to lock the game out before you're even trying to win the game. So you need to make sure that you've got the Solemnity and 9 Lives or Solemnity and Unlife before you even go and grab your Form of the Dragon. So GPLA day 1, I go X-1. In round 5, I talked to Corbin Hostler, who is the one who is dealing with written. I think he was dealing with all of the written content for that event. And my buddy was on stream in round 5 because he was playing a single Master of Cruelties. And Corbin Hostler is always looking for janky stuff to put on stream in those early matches at GPs, or at least to write about them in his content. So my buddy's playing on stream with a singleton Master of Cruelties and some like red-black mid-range deck. And he ends up losing, but I'm talking to Corbin Hostler, who's standing right there after the match is over, and he goes, "Oh yeah, this guy, I heard he was playing Master of Cruelties. I just had to get him on stream." And I go, "Well, guess what I'm playing? Enduring Ideal. Guess what? I'm 5-0." And he goes, "What's your name? You're coming on stream next round." So it's actually on YouTube and Channel Fireball's Twitch page. My match playing Dredge, beat that 2-0. You can listen to Marshall Sutcliffe and Huey Jensen just having the most boring time of their life, because Dredge is basically a buy for Enduring Ideal. They don't have many strategies to beat a turn 2 Rest in Peace. And then you lock up the game because they don't have any flyers that can really attack outside of Narcomoeba, but that doesn't matter. So anyways, you can go and watch that video on stream. After that stream, or after that feature match that I got an interview with Pleasant Kenobi, in which case I talked about the deck and did all of that. lost my next round, round 7, and then proceeded to go XN1 day 1. After that, I got a bunch of messages from a whole bunch of people stating, write a primer for the deck, do a deck tech, do a tournament report and all this stuff. And I was like, well, what is the best place to write all this? I have 30, 40 people asking me to write this primer, and I don't know how to get it out into the world. I didn't have a Reddit handle at the time, so I decided to create one, and I went, well, what do I name myself? The Enduring Idealist. Sure, that's what I'm now known for, as the Enduring Ideal player. And that's how the name Enduring Idealist came to be, and now that's what I'm known as everywhere.
I'm so glad we got to hear the backstory of the Enduring Idealist and how that name came to be. So I used to mess around with Enduring Ideal myself, a year or two ago. Love the card. Such a fun deck. Do you think Enduring Ideal is still playable in Modern today?
Absolutely not. It's really, really sad to say, because it is my baby, right? It is the deck and the archetype that gave me my claim to infamy, as it were. But there are just so many cards in the Modern card pool that deal with enchantments really early, right? Prismatic Ending is insane. March of Otherworldly Light is insane. There are just too many cards that deal with enchantments in the early game that you won't be able to stick many cards to the field for long enough for them to matter. The most recent version of the deck that I had played was a Bant strategy that also played Sterling Grove, and that wasn't even enough. So,
well, at least you had your moments with it while it lasted.
I'm hoping one day it's going to be able to come back. I try it off stream. I try it in my little dark corner of the world, and every now and again to see if it's viable. And then I go 0-5 in a league, and then put it on the back burner for another 3 months.
Modern definitely has gotten a lot of tools to answer enchantments, which is what the enchantment type, its strength was being hard to generally remove for a decent amount of decks and colors. Now we just have Prismatic Ending, and I hate that card with a passion. It makes a lot of my strategies not that good anymore. But Enchantress does have a lot going for it. As we progress a little bit from Enchantress, we did want to ask you questions as a player and as a streamer on your personal life. How did you get into Magic, and where do you see yourself going with it from now, or from here?
I got into Magic almost 20 years ago from my older brother. I've been playing, I guess it's been 17 years now. My first set was, Time Spiral. I think, which was 2005, I think was Time Spiral. I think that's the release date, or 2006 maybe. So, 15 to 20 years I've been playing. And my older brother got me into it. He sat me down and said, hey, I want to show you this cool game that I found out about. And then we played casually for a really long time, went, to a local store, bought packs, cracked packs, just like anybody that gets into new card games. You go and meet people at a local game store, and you start cultivating, friends and community and all of this stuff. And the rest is honestly history. I started becoming super competitive with it in around 2009, 2010. That's, around the time that Modern itself started to become an official format as opposed to extended. And then the Innistrad set was like my favorite thing in the world. I am super, super big into Gothic horror. And the set itself, Innistrad, and this is probably the opinion of a lot of people, where Innistrad, or around that time period, is when they really got into Magic, because it started blowing up worldwide at that point. But because of the simple theme to Innistrad is what really got me to go, all right, I want to take this game seriously and see where I can go for it. Now, going from here, until recently, I was part of an official Magic the Gathering team called Snapkeep Gaming, located here in Southern California. The team unfortunately no longer exists, but that team building and networking and things like that have really helped me advance or expand myself as a player. And if it would be a dream of mine to make it to the Pro Tour one day, or what do they call it now? The Mythic Champ. I don't know. The names have changed so many times over the last, couple of years, and unfortunately Grand Prix aren't being held right now, but once they are held, I plan on traveling a lot to them, because I really want to take this game seriously. It's my life's passion. I've been playing it and doing it for longer than literally anything else in my life, at least consecutively, and it's my favorite thing in the world. So being able to take it seriously and travel the world for events is just a dream of mine.
Yeah, I can relate to that feeling of wanting to take Magic seriously for sure, and be the best or be one of the best players, and that appeal is definitely there, and that excitement with traveling also goes hand in hand with that. What was I going to say? Something interesting, I hope. Oh, right. Yeah, speaking of Pro Tour stuff, since Wizards of the Coast have announced like Pioneer Pro Tour stuff, have you been looking into Pioneer? Or have you just been waiting for Modern and Legacy to sort of show their face?
So that's actually a really good question. I've been talking to a lot of people about Pioneer recently, and there are multiple strategies in Pioneer that I adore. Before COVID hit, I was actually on, lo and behold, Enchantress. The one and only Pioneer event that I played was like a 60-man event at a local game store, and I got second place with Pioneer Enchantress, which is kind of insane because people don't look at Enchantress as a real threat. They don't really think that the strategies are that viable. Oh, you're playing a prison deck that with enchantments? Whatever. I'm going to kill you with my big fatty creatures or my planeswalkers or whatever. But you just slam down a bunch of prison strategies and go, oh no, I don't know how to navigate this maze. What do I do? And then I slam down a win condition and overrun them with angels or whatever it is now. Now Hollowed Haunting is in the format, so I guess it'll be spirits because Hollowed Haunting is just a better version of Sigil of the Empty Throne, in my opinion. But so that was pre-COVID. But now I have been looking at Pioneer again. My most recent Pioneer love was Possibility Storm. I adore that deck. I mean, we're on this podcast where we love our crazy silly combo decks. So Possibility Storm is a massive one of mine, and me and a buddy of mine also brewed up a different version of the deck. Most versions of the deck are red and green, where they play like viable mid-range strategies and things like that, but he and I brewed up a control version of the deck where you're playing blue as opposed to green. So you're playing blue and red, where you're playing a couple of counter spells and you're playing ops and draw power cards to try to hit your combo cards more often, as opposed to playing more of a mid-range strategy. So that is something that I definitely want to look into in the near future here, because I mean, talking about the Pro Tour and things like that, and Pioneer is like an actual format that WotC really wants to push. So if I want to remain competitive, I need to start looking into that format more, and this is definitely a strategy that I think is viable for Possibility Storm.
Possibility Storm being an enchantment doesn't help you like it more, does it?
Oh, it definitely does. Of course it does. Yeah. I mean, if Possibility Storm was an artifact or whatever, I'd love it. I love the janky craziness that is Possibility Storm. The effect of Possibility Storm is what really attracts me. The fact that it's an enchantment, just honestly, all it does is help my friends make fun of me more, because they're like, oh, you're playing Enchantress because you're winning with an enchantment.
That logic is sound, and we at the Solitaire team do agree that Pioneer is the direction we do have to start going eventually if we want to play competitive Magic. I, for one, have never been a fan of Pioneer, and Pioneer hasn't been one to have very degenerate combo decks, which, is my go-to thing. But I do see some combo decks popping up here and now that I do really enjoy, that I will take for a whirl.
Yeah, I hadn't actually seen this Possibility Storm deck. I don't think I've played against it, or maybe I have played against it, but they only showed me a few cards. But this looks pretty wild, and I'm probably going to take this for a spin later today.
You flip into a spell that lets you draw your entire deck, right?
Yeah. So you play Possibility Storm, and then all of your non creature spells are spells that are also attached to creatures because you're playing the adventure creatures. So the one non-creature spell you have in your deck is Enter the Infinite. So you cast your adventure spell. Possibility Storm triggers, you flip over into the Enter the Infinite, you draw your entire deck except for one card. The card that you put back is not Rurik Thar.
Borgamos?
Yeah, Borborygmos, thank you.
Something like
Enraged,
that.
I believe it is. Yeah, Borborygmos Enraged, I believe is the card. And then you're playing like one copy or maybe even two copies of Stonecoil Serpent, or I guess now it's banned, but it was Walking Ballista, because you could just cast it for 0, and then Possibility Storm would trigger again, and then you would put Borborygmos into play, and then you would use Borborygmos' ability to dump your entire hand and deal that much damage to your opponent's face. So that's the strategy with Possibility Storm.
This is the content our viewers like. I do big things and win in one turn.
Yeah, this is exciting stuff. I like this.
Janky combos. It's what this podcast is all about, right?
Oh yeah, we're all about it. We are starting to take a step into more combos and other decks, and that's why we like to have people like you come on the Enduring Idealist, so we can get your take on other decks and kind of really get the masters of their craft with the certain decks. And Enchantress always felt like Elf Ball to me, so I feel a little bit of combo in it. But you are right; it is a prison lock deck that just locks down the game and then wins. And I do applaud you, because when I play Enchantress, I do not play it as well as you do. The biggest thing that I've noticed that you cover so well with Enchantress is resource management. What cards are in your hands and what cards you should play out and when you should do it. It's definitely a lot of respect for you, because when it does come to our specific decks, like how we are with Belcher, there's so many intricate things that you can help build off of with your certain decks. And we love having you on to talk about those intricate things for people who may be looking to play Enchantress.
Yeah, I mean, Enchantress itself, it is a control deck. You are not winning the game usually until turn 10, 12, maybe even later. You, like I said, you have to make sure that you've got the game locked out before you can even win, because if you don't have it locked out, your opponent might be able to win out of nowhere. So knowing the format, knowing the possible cards that your opponent can have, and then knowing your deck list and the odds of you drawing X cards in the time that you need them, or knowing when to crack a Sterling Grove to be able to get the card that you need is all a part of the strategy, which is why I was talking about earlier that it's not very easy for a new player of Magic to come in and play it, because there's so many small intricacies to the Enchantress archetype that it's not going to be easy to pick up unless you know the format that you're playing, maybe even get reads on your opponent themselves. Because each person is going to play a deck differently, and if you can start really understanding how the specific that your opponent, or the specific opponent that you're playing against, is playing their cards and the sequencing that they have, then you can continue to play around that. So there are a lot of not only like mental intricacies, but physical intricacies that you have to pay attention to while playing Enchantress to really understand how to play it and do well with it.
Before we move on to how people can find you and where they can find you at, I was going to ask Sharif, did you have any more questions for our lovely Enduring Idealist who has enchanted us this session?
I think I more have comments than questions. I just really enjoyed hearing you speak about especially like the GP story was really engaging. I've never actually been to a GP, because when I started playing Magic, it was like Return to Ravnica era, a little bit before that, but Return to Ravnica was the first time I actually did like pre-releases, and I never actually played competitive Magic because I was like, I don't know, it must have been like 12 or 13 or 14 or something like that. And so yeah, hearing GP stories, I've watched like GP recordings and whatnot, so that's really, really cool to hear about. And your plans for more competitive Magic in person and traveling for that was really just great to hear.
Yeah, for anybody who has not gone to a Grand Prix, Sharif, yourself, or anybody out there listening, Grand Prix are one of the best experiences you'll ever have. You'll be able to see thousands upon thousands of people gathered in one area who might not even speak a single word of the same language, but still be able to communicate by playing this game. And this is really where the gathering part of Magic comes into play. You know, I'm a judge of the game as well. I've been an official judge since 2008, I think, is when I got certified. And I've traveled all over for judging and things like that, but to actually play in those GPs, I've only done like locally or Vegas, because I'm located in Southern California. So like Vegas, or I think I went to the Hunter Burton Memorial Open last year, and that's located in Texas. That was a great experience. But being able to see that many people in a single area gathered for one thing, and it's to play the game that you love. Just sit down with an opponent and play a game, right? You may be playing for money, but you are there as a gathering of people who enjoy something, and that to me is phenomenal. Like, the community and the gathering part of Magic is what I love most about this game. So I highly suggest anybody listening to either of you here, if you've never gone to a GP, please, for the love of God, go. You'll meet friends. You'll connect with people. You'll get discords, and I mean, you'll really understand what it means to have a community once you go to these events.
I do agree. These events are wonderful. The first large event I ever went to was this Vegas of last year, and being there is such a great experience. I like the Discord thing because I got Corbin Hostler to join our Belcher Discord, and you can find him in our Belcher Discord after going.
I didn't even know he was on the Belcher Discord. That's awesome. I should ping him and be like, "Hey, remember you got me on camera." That's really funny.
I was 5-0 with Belcher, sitting next to Reed Duke, and here comes Corbin Hostler watching me win with the Pyromancer's Ascension loop, and was like, "What is this?"
Oh man. Corbin loved his jank, and I mean that's what attracted him to me when I got on camera for Enduring Ideals. So, but that's really cool that he's on the Discord. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad we got to hear that. Outside of just playing Magic itself, there's so much more to it that you enjoy as well. It helps bring a lot of depth to you as a player and as a Twitch streamer, which I did want to mention. For those who are listening, where can they find you if they'd like to contact you or watch your content?
So you can find me at The Enduring Idealist on Twitch, all one word, The Enduring Idealist. I don't have a set schedule for streaming right now because work and life is a little bit crazy, but I usually stream 2 to 3 days a week, pardon me. We always usually start out the stream with with at least a league of Modern Enchantress, because that's what I'm known for, and I've cultivated a community around that. And then we go off into janky other things. I adore playing Glimpse of Tomorrow. Speaking of more solitaire decks, I mean, I have screenshots of the last Glimpse of Tomorrow stream I did where I had over 300 permanents on board or something like that, because hitting 4 Chancellor of the Forge at the same time with 10 other creatures is just bonkers. And then the last time I played it off stream, I actually broke Moto by putting over 400 permanents into play. So I had to get my ticks back because Moto broke, because it couldn't handle all the tokens. But I usually start out with Enchantress, and then we go into some other janky stuff. I do dono decks as well, donation decks. Anybody that wants to throw some money at me and go, "Hey, I have a deck list that I'd like you to play." I may not be very good at it, but if you want to see somebody stumble through a league with some janky list that you've brewed up, I'm the guy to do it for, or do it with. So that's a possibility as well. Once again, I do not have a set schedule for it, but I definitely post on my Instagram or on my my Discord page, which you can reach out to me and get my Discord as well when I do go live. Instagram is also The Enduring Idealist, one word. Like I said, known as The Enduring Idealist everywhere on the internet.
I look forward to looking out to your combo streams when you do them. I hope you do a Pioneer combo stream now after telling us about that wacky deck. I'd love to see it. But admire you as a player, and I'm so glad we got to have you on. Any last thoughts from Sharif or you, the Enduring Idealist?
Yeah, this is really great. I really enjoyed talking with you. So thanks for coming on. And yeah, we'll see you around, I guess.
I highly appreciate being here. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and allowing me to be on this wonderful podcast with you fine folks. Everybody out there listening, thank you so much. Highly appreciate you. Once again, you can find me, The Enduring Idealist, on Twitch and on Instagram.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you. And to give you guys a little teaser for our next Not So Solitaire episode, you can join Bob or Sam as they interview one of the most well-known Breach or Shadow players, and we'll see you in that episode.